I'll be honest, I heard a lot of BS, about how, you're going to this really, really liberal place and, everybody's going to like hate you for being conservative. I've met some people that do, but I think that's just part of being human.
Yeah, even in a class of 400 people, no one has come up to me and said anything negative to me, even though I've spoken my mind.
Yeah.
So
I try to guess what it is, like what political affiliation the econ professor is. It's hard to tell. Like you really don't know.
Okay.
And that's a good thing, by the way.
I'm not going to say anything, but I find that hard to believe, considering that the event had already been planned for months.
It seems a little bit suspect.
It seems a little hard to believe, especially when there were open protests on the same hub lawn, just on the other side.
He did a really good job at talking about both sides of it, being for affirmative action, being against it. And then that kind of made me comfortable because it was like an open discussion where everyone could talk because we all knew that it was a safe space.
That class didn't leave me changing my mind, but it made me want to learn more about it.
In what ways are you conservative? What makes you? What would you say? Just as kind of a way to start.
I guess from the basic point of view of conservative and liberal politics, and less government, less taxes, small, that type of general idea. So that's one way I would consider myself a conservative.
And how about immigration?
Yeah, I'm very anti-immigration.
Undocumented illegal immigration or all immigration? Or?
Both.
Okay.
Legal and illegal.
I'd say specifically fiscally, I consider myself very conservative. I do think that, you should be able to keep most of the money that you earn, the overwhelming majority for that part. I think I'm a lot more conservative in my personal life in regards to my values. I believe in a strong nuclear family, traditional Judeo-Christian values. And I'd say socially, I tend to be a little bit more liberal, maybe leaning libertarian.
I believe that everyone should have a right to come here if they're doing it properly.
If they're following the laws.
Right.
Okay. And economically, similar things?
Yeah, I would like to keep most of my money.
I would say I'm conservative, definitely within my own morals. I do believe in very traditional values. And then along with a ton of policies like immigration, abortion laws, smaller government interference, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. But help us understand what it's like to be conservative on the Penn State College campus.
It doesn't really impact me at all, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody hates me because I'm conservative. I don't view any discrimination per se, but econ's a pretty political major. A lot of the kids that I know that are also econ majors, we talk about politics a lot, so it's kind of just natural.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and you're a poli-sci major, so we're gonna have a larger percentage of people who identify as conservative in econ, poli-sci, business. How might it impact you if it did?
Honestly, that probably comes from within. If someone was talking to me and they said they're liberal, and then I got mad at that, I just think that's the dumbest thing in the world.
To be mad at someone because they're liberal.
For example, in 2024, my dad voted for Trump, my mom voted for Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. Never had any issues. They've been married for 30 years. I guess just kind of in a sense how just another thing too about Delaware, it's extremely diverse. I've been around all types of people, so I guess it just kind of comes natural to me.
I wouldn't say I've experienced too many issues at all, honestly. I'd say I went to a relatively liberal high school. I went to a magnet high school that most of the teachers were very openly liberal. I felt like my ideas were, quote unquote, under attack more there, but realistically, it's not that big of an issue. I mean, I feel like if you truly believe something, then you should be able to listen to counterpoints and be able to, think through them and then see if you counter them, see if your mind changes. That being said, I haven't really felt any animosity from professors here at Penn State. I've met people that I could tell, when they would learn, more where my values align or kind of get the sense that I was conservative. I've met some people, very few, that treated me differently. But again, I mean, that doesn't affect me.
Professors?
Students. Yeah, students. But again, I mean, it's a school with 43,000 people. You have people from all sorts of walks of life. That's, it's bound to happen.
were you expecting that more so? Like, what did you hear about before you came to college? So you went to a pretty liberal high school, but what did you hear about going off to college?
I'll be honest, I heard a lot of BS, about how, you're going to this really, really liberal place and, everybody's going to like hate you for being conservative. I've met some people that do, but I think that's just part of being human. It doesn't really matter what you believe. There's people that hate me because, I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, but, it's the same, I think it goes hand in hand, with politics. It's just people will always find reasons to hate you, and I think it's part of life.
But when you say hate, you've had a few people that have hated you. Can you like break that down a little bit? Like, what do you mean? You mean they just said comments or?
Yeah, I mean people that make assumptions about who you are as a person based off of what you believe politically. And I think on one hand, I do think that that's unfair, but on the other hand, I think it shows a certain level of immaturity.
Yeah. Okay. So you were expecting more conflict or more struggle or more people kind of putting you in a box than actually happened.
Yeah, and I mean it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah. Dennis, how about you?
I think you really have to look out for trouble if you're going to get it. Myself as a conservative, I'm sure if I was a liberal, I would be treated the exact same here. I really haven't felt any animosity towards any student or professor because I don't really just go out of my way and try and pick fights with people because of my political beliefs.
And you're really open because, like in this class, for example, you've spoken 5 or 6 times, and everything that you said has half the time has come from a much more conservative perspective, not in a just conservative. Like it's pretty clear where you're coming from, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, even if a class of 400 people, no one has come up to me and said anything negative to me, even though I've spoken my mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Did you expect that when you did you think people, hey, the liberals, from what you see in the media and so on, did you expect more?
No, knowing my generation, we really don't look for conflict, between each other that I've seen. And if they do, it's really like a self problem than anything.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I really haven't noticed anything different because I'm conservative by being a liberal.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I've noticed any impact on me being on this, being at campus. I don't think that me being conservative, there's any effect on me. I think it's just like an internal fear I have. That like maybe I don't like share as much as I should. Maybe I don't like talk about like my beliefs as much as I do, just because of like
the internal fear is what you said earlier about your friends and so on. Just like that they will reject you, even though what you also said, what I think is. You kind of implied it, but I think it's really probably quite true, is that people judge you and they don't even know why they're judging you, right? Like, especially on politics, most people like, wait, what do you even know about anything, right? Like Donald Trump's policies. Wait, what do you know about Donald Trump's policies? You know what I mean? Like, really, if I give you the microphone and say, hey, come sit up on the table and tell us what is happening in the Donald Trump world, how many people could actually... These like hardcore liberals could actually say something more than 20 or 30 seconds. What do your professors do or say that leads you to immediately put them in a box? Be like, okay, that person's liberal or that person's...
It's kind of hard to tell. A lot of the things that they teach are very apolitical, so they don't take either side.
And you're in poli-sci.
I'm in poli-sci, so it's really teaching more about the history. Maybe as I get further in the degree that it might talk about specific topics. But for right now, it's more generalized. So it's kind of hard to be like, this professor is a liberal or a conservative. Very hard to tell whether, because they really don't have their personal beliefs printed in their classes.
Yeah. Robert? So you've been here, this is your 4th year. Have you had any professors here that have been like, boom, man, it's really clear that this...
Not really. I mean, I've had 1 or 2 that, you could tell they leaned left. But again, I feel like people's political beliefs are something that's ever changing. And it's so multifaceted and something you can take a single topic, and obviously it's a complex topic, but like something like abortion, there's very few people that are actually 100% pro-choice or 100% pro-life. And I think that's just an example of like how anything in politics that anybody believes is multifaceted, and there's a lot of different levels to it depending on the person. So I don't think it's really fair to ever put anyone in a box based off of one conversation or just one thing that you heard from a lecture.
So do you listen for it though, to say like, oh wait, hang on, is this professor trying to kind of move me in this way or that way or something?
I mean, I'll listen for it, I guess, kind of automatic. Again, high school, I'd say honestly, my college experience has been nothing compared to the way my high school experience was. I'd say most of my teachers were very liberal, very left-leaning, and I wouldn't say I listen out for it, but I'm completely aware of it. I feel like, the more you hear somebody's perspective on certain things, that makes a big difference.
Like, the one thing that's interesting about econ is, like, I try to guess what it is, like, what political affiliation the econ professor is. It's hard to tell. Like, you really don't know.
Okay,
and that's a good thing, by the way. I would consider that a good thing.
You what?
That, like, I wouldn't guess a political affiliation by, like, how they teach or, like...
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
like. So this is a bit of a problem here. I'm not setting this up, okay? Like, so if you have the idea that professors were, jamming our ideology down the throats of students or whatever, I'm going to open it up to the class because I want to hear from some people who feel like that. You guys are all saying like, yeah, I can't really tell. And like that goes completely against this entire movement in the United States about changing the shape and the face of college education, at least in the classroom. Outside the classroom, it's a little bit different. Students who are kind of like the student group connected to Turning Point and so on, right? They often report that when they have events on campus, they have a real hard time. Like they have a tough time scheduling rooms. They have a tough time. Something also often gets in the way and disrupts the event.
Maybe not from the university, maybe, but
well, a lot of it is they're working with other students.
Yeah.
And so these would be students who are going to be like, yeah, these guys, Turning Point. Yeah.
Well,
give them a little bit.
we see in if you've ever watched Charlie Kirk's videos, a lot of people will often disagree and argue for their points. And some people take it to an extreme and try and tear down his posters or cause violence. So I would say that those claims of hardship when trying to schedule events is accurate.
It's probably it does. Well, we don't know if it's accurate. Well, you can't say that, but you could say, I can believe that.
I can definitely believe that, yes.
Yeah. Robert, you were going to say, or Joe, go ahead.
Yeah. I can believe it through, like, administrative point of view. The one thing I will say is, like, I guess, like, this was also the case in my high school, too, but, here it seems like among the student body, it's more conservative than, the administration.
Yeah,
so
it seems like that.
So I can see them having issues.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I remember last year it was actually Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA. He came here for a big event. It was a really big event, and I remember I happened to have class at the time. My class was ending at the time that the event started, so I was going to be like 30 minutes late. And I remember I showed up, and basically there was no event, and it was because of protests on campus.
And they pulled the plug on it.
Yeah, and they completely pulled the plug on the event. And I doubt, that was
the
administration from Penn State that did that.
If I remember correctly, they pulled the plug because they said they hadn't filled out their correct form. They hadn't done something they needed to do.
Right. And I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but I find that hard to believe considering that the event had already been planned for months.
It seems a little bit suspect.
It seems a little hard to believe, especially when there were open protests on the same hub lawn, just on the other side.
Dude,
calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi, then I find that pretty hard to believe.
Yeah, well, I was not in the country at the time, so I wasn't here, but yeah, it didn't strike me. What do educators need to know about being conservative on campus? Like, tell us, what do we, people who teach, professors, what do you want us to know about their conservative students?
make sure that they feel comfortable giving their opinions. And I think the best way to do that is to create a bipartisan seeming classroom. I think the best way to do that is just offer both perspectives without denigrating either one of them.
And what I'm hearing from you all is mostly people are doing that.
Yeah, for the most part.
But what I get from what you just said, this would be for somebody like Jasmine here. But you need to also maybe be really welcoming, like just be like, hey, I got to hear from some conservative students. Like this is like, if your conservative students aren't speaking up, that means you haven't really invited them. Like you got to get them in.
Make it like a safe space for everyone. I had a professor who did I took a class last year of human resources, and it includes talks of like affirmative action, like rights within the workplace, etc. And he did a really good job at like talking about both sides of it, like being for affirmative action, being against it. And then that kind of made me comfortable because it was like an open discussion where everyone could talk because we all knew that it was a safe space.
So you knew also that, hey, I can take this side of anti-affirmative action, let's say, and I can really run with that hard, and that's cool because I have a space here in which I can do that, and I don't have to so-called out myself. Really. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So like people have to be really deliberate.
Yeah.
I want to say that. I mean, just treat any kid the same way.
Wait, hang on, hang on. But you remember though, bro, you're the guy who is kind of like, yeah, well, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to say what I want anyway. So, but thinking about somebody more like Jasmine, what would you say? I mean, now think about that for her, not for you.
From her perspective?
Yeah. No, someone who's more reticent, right? A little bit more reticent to speak.
Just like treat everybody the same. You don't need to give like someone special treatment.
Okay.
Like, dude, that's how I view it.
That's a perfect conservative response right there. Don't treat anybody special, including us, including me.
That we're just like everybody else. Have an open mind if you're going to bring up politics, and I disagree with you. And don't be stuck in your ways to think that you're 100% right, because no one's 100% right.
You want to be challenged.
Honestly, I'd rather change people's minds, but I know it's a very hard thing to do. But if I could change someone's minds to think how I think, I think I did a good job.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. To think more like you think, right? For me, I always say, every time I teach, I want to change people. Every time people walk in this room, I want to change their minds. So I want you to leave the room thinking new, thinking something different than you thought because of something that somebody said. So if you lean liberal, I want you to lean more conservative. If you lean more conservative, I want you to be more liberal. I mean, it's just that kind of thing. Wait, how about you changing your mind? Do you when you are in that position, how often are you going like, yeah, man, change my mind because
Well, I think I have an open mind, and I'm willing to change when it comes to topics that I don't fully understand. If I'm able to get more knowledgeable about something, I'm willing to change my mind on it. For instance, we brought up DEI. I'm still a proprietor that it shouldn't exist, but I also believe that race-based hiring shouldn't exist, and putting your race on a job application shouldn't exist. No one should be judged based on their skin color. Everyone should be graded fairly based on their merits.
One of the big issues that I did change my mind about was Israel and Palestine, that whole conflict. You know, as a kid, like, I'm a young kid, I'm like in 6th grade. I'm watching a lot of political videos. You know, Trump's pretty out there. It's like a pretty big topic. And, you know, my dad's conservative, so like, I'm like, oh, like, you know, let's go see what the conservative YouTubers are talking about. And then you find Ben Shapiro, you find Steven Crowder, you find a lot of these guys. And I would say from like 6th grade until probably my freshman year in college, I was like very pro-Israel. And then I actually took an Israel-Palestine class here. And that class didn't like leave me changing my mind, but it made me want to learn more about it. And then I found another guy, Dave Smith. He's Jewish himself, but he's very anti-Israel. And then he was kind of my pushing point for that issue of like made me fully switch sides on an issue.
So for you, switching back and forth is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like switch back and forth. I went from one side to the other, but yeah, I think.
But
Yeah, have an
switching is
open
good.
mind. Yeah, have an open mind.
Keep thinking.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of that in the media. Like, there's other examples I can go on and on about, but
Yeah. What has shifted in the past year with the four of you since Trump was elected? And we have moved. I mean, things are moving, man. It is like, this is like the fire hose that Steve Bannon said. You just got to take a fire hose to everything and just blow it all open. So, what has shifted for you in the past year?